gentlemen, thank you for being here today. This is day 2 of our 80th anniversary Gearing Class Destroyer reunion, and also our celebration of these ships and the men who served on them. Yesterday we did a lot about walk through the Kennedy, and we did some highlights of these ships. Today we're going to do a little bit this morning about remembering the ships and the men who were on them. This ceremony is to make sure that we honor and remember the ships and men that can't be with us here today. We appreciate every one of you wearing your hat from the ship that you served in. We have great representation from the 98 Gearing Class Destroyers. But we also want to remember those ships that couldn't be here today with us. So we're going to go through that in a little bit. But right now I'm going to ask to start this off with a Star-Spangled Banner. If everybody could please rise. The flag is behind you on the fantasy. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You please be seated. All right, everybody, welcome again. I'm going to get settled here, but once again, we're going to talk a little bit about the 98 Gearing Class Destroyers. Right now, we're on the USS Massachusetts, BB-59, a ship that served under 35 naval engagements in World War II in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. If it wasn't for the USS Massachusetts, Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. would not exist to this day. And if it wasn't for the USS Massachusetts, there would not be a Tin Can Sailors Association. Kennedy was the first destroyer memorial preserved in the United States of America in 1974. Tin Can Sailors was started by Battleship Cove in 1976 to support the Kennedy and destroyer history. And that's why Kennedy, it's always been important for her to represent all destroyer sailors and their ships. But this weekend, we're celebrating, in my opinion, the best class of destroyer that ever served the United States Navy. But beyond, so between 19, I just messed up a little bit, sorry about that, folks, but between 1944 and 1946, we talked yesterday that 70 plus destroyers were commissioned. Their namesakes were on your rockers, they were on your hats, and they were on your sterns, on your fantails on the ships that you served on. Heroes, every one of them. A ship on the United States Navy does not get named for an individual unless they provided excellent or sacrificial service to the country, the United States Navy, or the United States Marine Corps. So you can all be proud that most of your ships from the era that you served are after World War II heroes. Some of them are named after important people from the Civil War, the Revolution, War of 1812, and that time frame. Today we're going to go through each ship and discuss their commissioning date because we're honoring the 80th anniversary of when they were commissioned. You'll see how many ships were put out in such a quick amount of time and who the ships of the class we're named for, because they, as well as you, proudly are what the Gearing-class destroyers represent. USS Gearing, DD-710, class namesake, named after the Gearing family. Commander Henry Gearing Sr., Captain Henry Gearing Jr., and Lieutenant Henry Gearing III. Commissioned May 3rd, 1945. USS Eugene A. Green, DD-711, named after Ensign Eugene A. Green, who was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross for heroism at the Battle of Midway, 1942. Commissioned 8 June, 1945. USS Guyot, DD-712, named for Private Edward Guyot, United States Marine Corps, Silver Star recipient, Guadalcanal. Commissioned 2 July, 1945. USS Kenneth D. Bailey, DD-713, named after Major Kenneth D. Bailey, posthumously received the Medal of Honor for heroic conduct at the Battle of Guadalcanal. Commissioned 31 July, 1945. USS William R. Rush, DD-714, named after Captain William R. Rush, Medal of Honor recipient for battles at Veracruz in April of 1914. Commissioned 21 September 1945. USS William N. Wood, DD-715, named for the first Surgeon General of the United States Navy. Commissioned 24 November 1945. USS Wiltsey, DD-716, named for Captain Irving Wiltsey, Medal of Honor, sinking of the USS Lascombe Bay, 1945. 12 January 1946 was her commissioning date. USS Theodore E. Chandler, DD-717, Navy Cross recipient Theodore E. Chandler, for heroic actions January 6, 1945 in the Battle of the Aleutian Gulf during kamikaze attacks manning the bridge on the USS Louisville. Commissioned 22 March 1946. USS Hamner, DD-718, named after Lieutenant Henry R. Hamner, Silver Star recipient, April 6, 1945, on the USS Haworth when its ship was hit by kamikaze attack. His last words were, "Target angle 0," before the aircraft hit his battery where he was standing. Commissioned 12 July 1946. USS Epperson, DD-719, named after Private Harold Epperson, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for heroism in the Battle of Saipan. Commissioned 19 March 1949. USS Frank Knox, the first ship commissioned, named after the Secretary of the Navy in the 1940s. Commissioning date 11 December 1944. USS Sutherland, DD-743, named after Rear Admiral who commanded American Squadron in Cuban waters during the Spanish-American War. 22 December 1944 is her commissioning date. USS William C. Law, DD-763. William C. Law was a gunner posthumously awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross as an Avenger during the Battle of Midway. He was flying from the USS Hornet. Commissioned 18 December 1946. USS Lloyd Thomas, DD-764. Lieutenant J.G. Lloyd Thomas, Navy Cross recipient, piloting a Douglas TBD devastator torpedo bomber from the Enterprise, Battle of Midway. Commissioned 22 March 1947. USS Kepler, boatswain's mate Reinhard Kepler, awarded Medal of Honor posthumously for extraordinary heroism aboard the USS San Francisco during the Battle of Guadalcanal. Commissioned 23 May 1947. 765. USS Rowan, DD-782, named after Vice Admiral Stephen Rowan, who served during the Mexican War and also the Civil War. Commissioned 31 of March of 1945. USS Gerke, named after Private Marine Corps Henry Gerke, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor at Bougainville. Commissioned 12 May 1945. USS McKean, DD 784. Named after Commodore William McKean, Squadron Commander on the Union side of the American Civil War. Commissioned 9 June 1945. USS Henderson, DD 785. Named after Marine Corps Major Lofton Henderson, Navy Cross Award recipient for the bombing of the Japanese carrier Hiryu at the Battle of Midway. Commissioned 4 August 1945. USS Richard B. Anderson, DD 786. Named after Private First Class Richard B. Anderson, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor during the Battle of Kwajalein. Commissioned 26 October 1945. USS James E. Keyes, DD 787. Named after Commander James E. Keyes, Navy Cross, posthumously awarded for extreme heroism during action against German submarines during the sinking of USS Leary, DD 158. Commissioned 8 February 1946. USS Hollister, DD 788, named after three brothers, radioman Lyle Hollister, missing in action from an air attack on Plunkett 431 at Anzio. Also named for William Hollister and his brother Richard Hollister, who perished during the sinking of USS Liscombe Bay. Three brothers lost. That ship's named after all three. Commissioned 29 March 1946. USS Eversole, DD 789. Named after Lieutenant Junior Grade John Eversole, Navy Cross recipient from a torpedo bomber flew off Enterprise during the Battle of Midway. Commissioned 10 May 1946. USS Shelton, Ensign James A. Shelton, Navy Cross recipient, flying a dive bomber off Enterprise, missing in action during the Battle of Midway. Commissioned 21 June 1946. USS Chevalier, DD 805, named after Lieutenant Commander Godfrey Chevalier, a pioneer of Navy aviation. Commissioned 9 January 1945. USS Higbee, DD 806, named for the first chief nurse of the United States Navy, Lena Ligbee. Commissioned 27 January 1945. USS Benner, DD 807, named after Marine Second Lieutenant Stanley Benner, who was killed in action at Guadalcanal and received the Silver Star. Commissioned 13 February 1945. USS Dennis J. Buckley, DD 808. Fireman First Class Buckley was posthumously awarded the Silver Star for displaying exceptional courage in attempting to salvage a German blockade runner from the destroyer USS Eberly, in which he lost his life. Commissioned 2 March 1945. USS Corey, DD 817, named for Lieutenant Commander William Corey, a naval aviator who posthumously was awarded the Medal of Honor. Commissioned 27 February 1946. USS New, DD 818, Private First Class John D. New was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for selfless conduct at the Battle of Peleliu. Commissioned 5 April 1946. USS Holder, DD 819. Lieutenant J.G. Randolph Holder was a Navy pilot killed during the Battle of Midway. Navy Cross recipient. 18 May 1946, the ship was commissioned. USS Rich, DD 820. Lieutenant Junior Grade Rich was awarded the Navy Cross for his leadership during the Battle of Midway, flying from the Enterprise. Commissioned 3 July 1946. USS Johnston, DD 821. Lieutenant John Johnston was a distinguished Navy officer during the American Civil War. Commissioned 23 August 1946. USS Robert H. McCard, DD 822. Gunnery Sergeant Robert H. McCard was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for gallantry at the Battle of Saipan. Commissioned 23 October 1946. USS Samuel B. Roberts, DD 823, named for Coxswain Samuel Booker Roberts, Jr., who was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross for heroism for trying to save the crew of a landing craft under intense fire at Guadalcanal. Commissioned December 20th, 1946. USS Basilone, DD-824, one of the most famous Marine Corps individuals of all time. Named for Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone, who was awarded the Medal of Honor at Guadalcanal and also was awarded the Navy Cross for Iwo Jima. 26 July 1949 was the commissioning date. USS Carpenter, DD-825, named for Lieutenant Commander Donald Carpenter, an aviation pioneer. She was commissioned 15 December 1949. USS Agerholm, DD-826, named for Harold Agerholm, Private First Class, United States Marine Corps, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for the Battle of Saipan. She was commissioned 20 June 1946. USS Robert A. Owens, DD-827. The ship was named for the United States Marine Corps Medal of Honor recipient Robert A. Owens for his historic combat experiences on Bougainville. Commissioned 5 November 1949. USS Timmerman, named after Sergeant Grant Timmerman, Medal of Honor recipient for the Battle of Saipan. 26 September 1952, the last ship of the class commissioned. USS Miles C. Fox, DD-829, named after First Lieutenant Miles C. Fox. First Lieutenant was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross for actions at Guadalcanal. Commissioned 20 March 1945. USS Everett F. Larson, DD-830, named after Private First Class Everett Larson, Silver Star recipient for Guadalcanal. Commissioned 6 April 1945. USS Goodrich, DD-831, named after Rear Admiral Caspar Goodrich, who served in both World War I and the Spanish-American War. She was commissioned 24 April 1945. USS Hanson, DD-832, named after First Lieutenant Robert Hanson of the United States Marine Corps, a flying ace who shot down 25 Japanese aircraft in his time of service in the South Pacific. He was posthumously received the Medal of Honor. Commissioned 11 May 1945. USS Herbert J. Thomas, DD-833. Sergeant H.J. Thomas was a Medal of Honor recipient for his actions at Bougainville. His ship was commissioned 29 May 1945. USS Turner, named after Daniel Turner, a significant captain in the War of 1812. She was commissioned 12 June 1945. USS Charles P. Cecil, DD-835, named after Rear Admiral Charles P. Cecil, a two-time recipient of the Navy Cross in World War I. World War II. She was commissioned in 29 June 1945. USS George K. Mackenzie, DD-836, named after Lieutenant Commander George K. Mackenzie, who was the commanding officer of the Triton, the submarine Triton, that was lost off the Admiralty Islands against the Japanese. He was awarded the Navy Cross. Commissioned 13 July 1945. USS Sarsfield, DD-837, named after Lieutenant Commander Sarsfield, who stayed aboard the destroyer Maddox, supervising the abandonment of that destroyer while she was sinking off of Sicily. He was awarded the Navy Cross. Commissioned 31 July 1945. USS Ernest G. Small, DD-838, Rear Admiral Ernest Small commanded the Salt Lake City and was awarded the Navy Cross during the Battle of Cape Esperance off the Savo Islands. She was commissioned 21 August 1945. USS Power, DD-839, named after First Lieutenant John Power, United States Marine Corps, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for heroism at Kwajalein. That ship was commissioned 13 September 1945. USS Glennon, DD-840, named after Rear Admiral James H. Glennon, Navy Cross recipient, World War I, commissioned 4 October 1945. USS Noah, DD-841, named after Midshipman Loveman Noah, who was killed on duty in the Philippines against insurgents. Commissioned 2 November 1945. USS Fisk, DD-842, named after Rear Admiral Bradley Fisk, inventor of the stadimeter and the aerial torpedo. She was commissioned 28 November 1945. USS Warrington, DD-843, named after Hero Lewis Warrington, who was a frigate commanding officer during the War of 1812. She was commissioned 20 December 1945. USS Perry, DD-844, named after Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry and his younger brother Matthew Perry. Oliver Hazard Perry was a hero of the War of 1812. Matthew Perry opened up the Japanese islands to the U.S. Navy. Perry was commissioned 17 January 1946. USS Basel, DD-845, named after Marine Corporal Louis Basel, who was rewarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for conspicuous gallantry during the Battle of Peleliu. She was commissioned 7 February 1946. USS Osborne, DD-846, Marine Private Joseph Osborne was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions at Tinian. She was commissioned 5 March 1946. USS Robert L. Wilson, DD-847, named after Marine Private First Class Robert Wilson, who was awarded the Medal of Honor for gallantry at Tinian. Wilson was commissioned 28 March 1946. USS Whittick, DD-848, named after Marine Private First Class Frank Whittick, who was awarded the Medal of Honor during the Battle of Guam. She was commissioned 23 April 1946. USS Richard E. Krause, DD-849, named after Marine Private First Class Richard E. Krause, who was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for the Battle of Peleliu. She was commissioned 23 May 1946. USS Joseph B. Kennedy Jr., DD-850. Lieutenant Joseph B. Kennedy Jr. was killed in action while serving as a land-based bomber pilot during Operation Aphrodite. He was killed over the English Channel instantly as his aircraft exploded prematurely on a bombing run. Navy Cross recipient, 15 December 1945, she was commissioned. USS Rupertus, DD-851, named after Marine Corps Major General William H. Rupertus, who commanded the famed 1st Marine Division in the Pacific during World War II. Rupertus was commissioned 8 March 1946. USS Leonard F. Mason, DD-852. Private First Class Leonard F. Mason was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for gallantry at Guam. She was commissioned 28 June 1946. USS Charles H. Roane, DD-853, named after Private First Class Charles Roane, who was a Marine who sacrificed his life on Peleliu and was received the Medal of Honor. She was commissioned 12 September 1946. Fred T. Berry, DD-858, named after Commander Fred T. Berry, who was lost in the crash of the blimp Akron, off the coast of New Jersey in 1933. She was commissioned 12 May 1945. USS Norris, DD-859, named after Second Lieutenant Benjamin Norris, killed in action in 1942 while leading a search attack mission from the island of Midway to find the Japanese. Was awarded the Navy Cross. She was commissioned 9 June 1945. USS McCaffrey, DD-860, named after Joseph McCaffrey, who was fatally wounded at Bougainville as a part of the Marine Raider Battalion. Navy Cross recipient. Commissioned 26 July 1945. USS Harwood, DD-861, named after Bruce Lawrence Harwood, who received 3 Navy Crosses during World War II, 2 for action in Solomons, and 1 for actions on USS Princeton when Princeton exploded during the war. Commissioned 28 September 1945. USS Vogelsang, DD-862, named after Rear Admiral Carl Vogelsang of the Asiatic Fleet, who received the Navy Cross. Commissioned 28 April 1945. USS Steinecker, DD-863, named after First Class Steinecker, who was killed at Guadalcanal, received the Navy Cross. Commissioned 26 May 1945. USS Harold J. Ellison, DD-864, named after Harold John Ellison of Torpedo Squadron 8 of the USS Hornet, lost during the Battle of Midway, Navy Cross recipient. Commissioned 23 June 1945. USS Charles R. Ware, DD-865, named after Charles Rowlands Ware, an SBD Dauntless dive bomber from the Enterprise, who was lost during the bombing of the carrier Kaga at the Battle of Midway. Navy Cross recipient. Commissioned 21 June 1945. USS Cone, DD-866, named after Rear Admiral Hutch Cone. During World War I, he was the commander of U.S. Navy Aviation Forces Europe. Commissioned 18 August 1945. USS Stribling, DD-867, named for Cornelius Stribling, who served in the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, and the Civil War. Commissioned 29 September 1945. USS Brownson, DD-868, named after Rear Admiral Brownson for service against pirates in Mexico and service during the Spanish-American War. Commissioned 17 November 1945. USS Arnold J. Isbell, DD 869. Captain Arnold Isbell was awarded the Air Medal and Distinguished Service Medal for U-boat ops with the escort carrier USS Card in the Atlantic. Was lost later on the Franklin during a kamikaze attack. Commissioned 5 January 1946. USS Fechteler, DD 870. Augustus Fechteler was awarded the Navy Cross for meritorious action as the commander of the Norfolk Navy Yard during World War I, preparing us for the war. Commissioned 2 March 1946. USS D'Amato, DD 871, named after Corporal Anthony D'Amato, who was killed in action at Eniwantok in the Marshall Islands. Medal of Honor. Commissioned 27 April 1946. USS Forrest Royal, DD 872, named after Forrest B. Benton Royal for Amphibious Group 6 landings off the Philippines. Commissioned 29 June 1946. USS Hawkins, DD 873, named after First Lieutenant William Dean Hawkins, who posthumously was awarded the Medal of Honor for actions at Tarawa. Commissioned 10 February 1945. USS Duncan, DD 874, named after Captain Silas Duncan, a hero of war of 1812. She was commissioned 25 February of 1945. USS Henry Tucker, DD 875, named after pharmacist mate Henry W. Tucker, who was awarded the Navy Cross during the sinking of the Euler Neosho in 1942 during the Battle of the Coral Sea. Commissioned 12 March 1945. USS Rogers, DD 876, named for 3 brothers, just like the Hollister. Rogers lost the Rogers family: Jack Ellis Rogers, Charles Rogers, and Edward Rogers, all killed in action aboard the same ship, USS New Orleans, during the Battle of Guadalcanal, or Tassafaronga, in the Solomon Islands in November of 1942. She is one of 2 incidences in which the United States Navy decided not to allow brothers to serve together. Everybody talks about the Sullivan brothers, but the Rogers brothers were one of the first incidents in which the Navy rethought that process. 3 brothers of that family lost their lives that day. Rogers was commissioned 26 March 1945. USS Perkins, DD 877. Commodore George Perkins is the namesake, and it was a hero during the Battle of Mobile Bay in the Civil War. Commissioned 4 April 1945. USS Wiesel, DD 878, named for Ensign K. Wiesel, who commanded an armed guard crew aboard a Liberty ship and directed the defense and helped wounded crew members. Was awarded the Navy Cross for the help and evacuation of his ship. 23 April 1945, she was commissioned. USS Leary, DD 879, named for Lieutenant Clarence Leary, who lost his life in the line of duty during World War I. Navy Cross recipient. Commissioned 7 May 1945. USS Dias, DD 880, named after Aquila Dias, who was a Medal of Honor recipient during the Battle of Kwajalein. 21 May 1945, she was commissioned. USS Borderland 881, named after Marine Staff Sergeant William Borderland, who was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for heroism at the Battle of Tarawa. Commissioned 5 June 1945. USS First, DD 882, named after John First, who died aboard the Illinois on 30 September 1907 during saving many of his crew. Commissioned 10 July 1945. USS Newman K. Perry, DD 883, named after Newman Kershaw Perry, who was stationed on the Bennington and was killed by a boiler explosion at San Diego. Commissioned 26 July 1945. USS Floyd B. Parks, DD 884. Parks was killed in action at the Battle of Midway, leading his squadron against a superior force of Japanese fighters. Navy Cross recipient, 31 July 1945. USS John R. Craig, DD 885. Lieutenant Commander Craig was lost with the submarine Grampus in the Pacific. Craig was awarded the Navy Cross. Commissioned 20 August 1945. USS Orlick, DD-886. Lieutenant Joseph Orlick, commanding officer of the USS Nauset, was lost off Salerno during an air attack by Luftwaffe bombers. Navy Cross recipient. 15 September 1945, Orlick was commissioned. USS Brinkley Bass, DD-887. Lieutenant Commander Harry Bass was awarded the Navy Cross for his time on the Lexington for sinking an enemy ship and damaging a carrier. Commissioned 1 October 1945. USS Stickle, DD-888, or as the crew says, the 888. Lieutenant John Stickle was killed in action on the Marshall Islands and is awarded the Navy Cross. Commissioned 31 October 1945, right on Halloween. USS O'Hare, DD-889. Lieutenant Commander Butch O'Hare, which is also the namesake of an airport in Chicago, Medal of Honor recipient, one of the Navy's first aces, lost during the Battle of Tarawa, Medal of Honor recipient. Commissioned 29 November 1945. And last but definitely not least, USS Meredith, DD-890, named after Sergeant Jonathan Meredith, who saved the life of John Tripp, who's also a famous naval officer in our history during the Barbary Pirate Wars in the 1800s. USS Meredith was commissioned 31 December 1945. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the commissioning dates and the namesakes of all 98 Gearing-class destroyers. It's kind of hard to read through because a lot of those guys sacrificed themselves at the largest battles in World War II to save our nation. And during this ceremony as well, I'd also like to remember and point out the loss of shipmates over the years from the 98 Gearing-class destroyers. Both lost in action, Korea, Vietnam, fires at sea, lost overboard, people injured or maimed and killed in action on their destroyers in a peacetime operation, and also those that are no longer with us that are proudly served on their ships. So I'm going to ask everybody just to stand and just on your own, or just a solemn moment of silence for those that are no longer with us, including our shipmates that are no longer with us, the ship namesakes that our ships are named for, and everybody who came before us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we just walked through all 98 Gearing-class destroyers, their namesakes and their commissioning dates. As you could see, they really put the pedal to the metal. Unfortunately, I used a card term instead of a Navy term there, but the shipyards really put out our ships at a rapid rate to get the Gearing-class out to the fleet. As we mentioned yesterday, you guys hold the honor of being the last crews of these magnificent ships. You're a generation of sailor that the Kennedy remembers and hopefully reflects your service, and those of your predecessors who served on your ships, and everybody who served on destroyers in general. So we really appreciate you being here today, taking an opportunity to join us for the ceremony to remember all 98 ships, their crews, their namesakes, and how the United States of America put 98 ships together and into the fleet almost in 2 years.